bud. Thanks, John. You're awesome.
It's amazing.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
I'm back. Thank you, John.
Thank you,
Love
John.
you.
Good luck. Good luck.
On a hole shot, 5:56.6 for Chris, 200.
John Force goes 3.931, 327. Matt goes 3.942, 325. Both make great run. Neither makes a Robert Hight run. Neither that moves up the ladder. Before the round one matchups are set. I'll tell you right now, as we watch the last pair again, unless the DHL Toyota makes the run of the weekend, which that team is certainly capable of. Tasca is going to get the green out. Funny Car.
Denham, all these guys, Cruz Petragon and Tony Petragon were just puppies. They were just babies running around, and it was just part of that area down the production.
NHRA.
it's funny cars. Had 3 key components, more than 330 mile an hour top speed, a supercharger that provides 60 pounds of boost to the engine, burns nitromethane fuel, and an all-aluminum V8 engine that sits underneath this carbon fiber aerodynamic body. The funny car category has provided some very big-time action on the Western Swing. Let's take a look at how it all started for funny cars in Denver, how it worked to Sonoma, and what we're looking like here in Seattle. The 2019 NHRA 3-race Western Swing has been action-packed in funny car. In Denver, Tommy Johnson Jr. won for the first time in his 35 years of racing on the mountain. Down they go, the header flames up, it's Tommy Johnson Jr. for the second time in the 2019 season. As teams transition down to sea level in Sonoma, conditions were ripe for speed. Check out the speed, 334.65 miles an hour. And after lighting up the scoreboard in qualifying, Robert Hight's momentum carried into final eliminations. And for the 50th time in his career, Robert Hight is going to raise a Wally at the end of an NHRA national event. Now, in the oxygen-rich Pacific Northwest, Seattle begins the final 3-race regular season stretch as teams position for a top 10 spot in the NHRA's playoffs. The countdown to the championship. Bring your flannel and an axe, Tony. I'm going to have to borrow the flannel from you, right? I can handle that. Gary Denham and Matt Hagen on the starting line as the body comes down wearing the Sandvik colors on his SRT Charger Hellcat funny car bodied machine is Matt Hagen. And Gary Denham, the legend, the teacher's pet, the man who has been running Nitro funny cars for about a half a century now, who has been involved in the development of John Force's career, who has done so many things. We call people legends in this sport sometimes because they've just simply been around a long time. Gary Denham's been around a long time, and he's won a long time, and he is capable of upsetting Matt Hagen. He's going to keep him honest. Says Matt Hagen, 3.988 seconds, 328 miles per hour. And Gary Denham, a none too shabby 4.058 second elapsed time. They did exactly what they should have done there and made sure that Matt Hagen didn't make any mistakes. If he did, they would have won. Very respectable run for Gary Denham. Only made 2 qualifying runs, but had Hagen made a mistake, he was right there to take it. John Force will be up next when we come back. The 150th victory. Is this the weekend? Stick around. That's where they hang out with our fans as Jim Campbell and John Force get ready to do battle in round 1 here at the Northwest Nationals. Jim Campbell's car has not moved ahead. Very oddly, they fired it. Now they give him a push in the water. Jim Campbell's car has idled through the water, likely. Well, just a strange sequence of events there. Everything appears to be okay. So we look now at our ladder, and this is how. But John Force is 0-4 against Robert Hight. The last 4 times they have run heads up against each other. John Force throws the visor of his helmet down. We heard a bit of a more than normal disheveled John Force after his first round victory. We'll find out where his head is at here. And for Robert Hight, Sonoma, California proves that they have what it takes to win when the temperature comes up, which it will do over the course of today. How do they adapt as the day goes on? Well, all the tuners know what they have to do. They have to pull typically some weight off of the clutch. They call it primary weight. Those are those initial 6 levers that'll lessen the clamping load right off the starting line. Change the record as John Force has got one back on Robert Hight. 3.909 seconds at 328 miles an hour. Nearly a full 1/10 of a second quicker than Ron Capps went just a few moments ago. Robert Hight, 4.16 seconds smoking the tires. The old man may have stuffed it in there, but an 071 light got him off the starting line first. And based off this first round performance, John Force was the favorite. You don't say that often when you're coming up and pulling alongside of Robert Hight, but as long as they were able to maintain that performance, but they not only maintained it, they laid it down on this round because we've talked about the increase in temperature. Not quite 20 degrees, but that's going to require a lot of adjustments from the tuner. So Brian Karate, whether he did it with the clutch, whether he's manipulating the timing and reducing the power, giving the power back in the right places, he did everything right on this run. Magical run, and now more from Magic Drive.
qualifying session and do so in fine fashion. First round of eliminations wasn't exactly the banner performance of his life, but they did get a win by.
Yeah, and you have to consider their opponent in the other lane. So they've been racing smart, but what's important to mention for Bob Tasca, I don't believe that any of that are in his thoughts right now. I think he's strictly looking down at the racetrack. In a funny car, you don't look right down the hood. These cars accelerate so quick. You pick a spot on the horizon. Right now, his biggest problem is in the other lane since Jack Beckman has lane choice. However, there's nothing wrong with the lane that Motorcraft Ford is in.
It has been 4 years since Jack Beckman advanced past the second round of this race. He's going to have to get around Bob Tasca III to do it right now. A hot number down there, and it is going to be Jack Beckman, 3.973 seconds, 323.04 miles an hour. It'll be Jack Beckman squaring off with John Force, and we go down to Bruno Massel.
Jack Beckman this morning was almost prophetic in what he said to me. He goes, if we have success today, we will have success today based off of what happened in qualifying session 4. We came into that session, a hot race day setup, and we're able to knock it out of the park. We've been missing it all weekend long. Guido came up, he said, and found the tune-up. They were second low for that session. What he told me was better yet is there was much left in that tune-up. So the success and the confidence they got there is parlaying here today.
So we look at the ladder and defeated Force in 2007 for his only win at this event. So pretty good stuff here for two long-term competitors. Jack Beckman smokes the tires, and John Force is going to the final round, the 255th of his career. Consider this, it was May 2nd, 1979 when John Force made his first national event final round. 14,704 days from this moment right now. Being that this is the 255th final that he has been in his career, he has averaged a final round appearance at NHRA drag races every 57 days of his life from that point forward.
For the first 400 feet, it was all Jack Beckman. Here's the problem. This is a 1,000-foot race course. It was not long after that the Beckman car started to lose traction, and that opened the door for John Force. This is as good as we've seen John running in a long time. He did catch a slight break, but in this kind of heat, you do have to manage the power.
Very nice job there, and again, just frustration for Jack Beckman in a mid-course it lost traction, but this is the car that has the highest success rate, the one you're looking at right now. The highest success rate, meaning full power runs end-to-end, is John Force, over 83%, and they are leading, that team is leading the category of that stat by a long shot. A day of stress outside of the race car is translating itself to a day of success inside the race car. We will hear from John Force when we come back, and undoubtedly, the greatest funny car racer in any.
For the 12th time here at Seattle, John Force is advancing on to a final round. But John, it has been 25 race days since you have taken home a Wally. What have you guys done to make today the day?
You want to hear something really interesting? Put your camera right down there. You see all them trash cans full of sand? You know how many times I've been through those? Probably 15 times. So, you know, I'm not going to get into all that. I just love it. Get to come out here and be part of it. And, you know, NHRA Safety Safari and the ambulance that took our boy Justin to the hospital. He's okay. That's really what's important to me. And to race Beckman, that's always fun. To see Proc in that Montana brand, you know, going rounds for Frank Teagues and for Dome, that's what I promised him. I ain't there yet, and I don't know how to tune. But Mike Green and his team's doing a great job in Proc, winning on a whole shot. That was awesome. So, hey, I'm in there, peak lighting, and, you know, Cornwell Tools, all of you guys, Baldwin Fillers that support me, God bless you. Parker Storm.
Will it be his day for the 100 in high-performance lubricants and problem-solving additives? Let's ride with John Force on this run. John having to drive just a bit. Down across the finish line, first in the championship with John Force. There it is! Championship number 16 is in the books for John Force. Legend.
It's a good race, but it's John Force winning number 100.
John Force, for the first time since Gainesville last year, by the whole shot. How about this for a nice number? Career win 149. That's huge.
Now, John
Force, one of the most historic names in all of motorsports, stands on the brink of 150 wins.
In the world of NHRA drag racing, this is Hercules, this is Paul Bunyan, this is John Q. Public and John Wayne rolled up into one 11,000 horsepower package. His name, John Force, defines in many ways Nitro Funny Car drag racing. It has defined an attitude, it has defined an approach, it has defined a life that began in an impoverished state and has turned into something that even he could not have imagined as a high school football quarterback on a team that didn't win a single game. First win comes in Montreal, 1987. Get this, Louis Bloom pulled this one up. A perfect 700 race span between, if we count that first win in 1987 and we count this race, 700 races encompassing the 149 victories that he has accomplished in his NHRA Funny Car racing career. They stacked up like cordwood from there. And on the other side of the racetrack, the second winningest Nitro Funny Car driver in the history of the NHRA with great history here. His first win in a top fuel car, 1995, then his 50th win in 2016, and his 60th career win in 2018. His 61st career win would be the equivalent of a block in chess. He would stop. That man right there, Jill Brock, Brittany Forrest, looking on as John Force and Ron Capps, two of the indisputably greatest ever, get ready to lock horns here in Seattle. Will this be the moment that John Force closes the chapter on 150 wins? They leave him in 2,000ths of a second. Force is the car length out, and at the finish line, it's John Force for the 150th time of the greatest career in NHRA history. He's done it. Pacific Raceways going absolutely bananas when he went across the finish line. A 397 with the tail hanging sideways late in the run. At 320 miles an hour defeats Ron Capps slow in 401.
It starts with the tuner, the car. They gave him a car that can win. John Force did the rest.
We have Bruno Massa with Brian Karate.
I'm here to start with Dan Hood and Brian Karate. Dan, this is your father-in-law. You just tuned to his 150th victory history. How does that feel right now?
Just a blessing to be a part of it. I finally got that 150 monkey off our back. It's been hanging there, and glad for him. I think we're going to have quite a few more to come.
His 9th career victory at Seattle. The only other track he's had more success is Brainerd, Minnesota with 11 wins. It is never easy to predict John Force's emotional state when he climbs out of a race car. Is it relief? Is it satisfaction? Or is it tears? We're going to find out when he pulls his helmet off here in a moment. But for everyone that sat here to watch this drag race this weekend, to all of you watching at home, you've seen something that we may never, ever see again in the sport of NHRA drag racing. A 150th career victory.
The best right here.
The raw emotion of John Force pouring out.
Don't screw you up. I've been screwed up for 25 races. And God, I'm glad that monkey's come. Where is that monkey? I love that monkey now. But
the word's flowing like a river, and we apologize for some of those hits in the wrong direction, but that's John Force, and Jamie Howe is right there at ground zero with him. Good luck with this, Jamie.
And Ron Capps is the one that put the winner hat on his head. 150 wins for John Force, right on the lips for Ron Capps. John, how do you explain the success that you've been able to enjoy?
Because I surround myself with the greatest people, the greatest sponsors with Peak and Auto Club and Chevrolet and Advanced Auto Parts and CarQuest and of course Montana Brand. I got a young kid coming here right now. But what I've done is taken their money and bought the best people. Karate, Brian Karate, my son-in-law Daniel Hood, and Fabrizi and this team got me this win. And I've been struggling, but there's a lot of other guys that have got me this win. So I just want to say to all the guys that were part of the 150, you're all part of my life. But I want to tell you, Austin Coyle, I love you. You stood by me, called me every week, said I was screwed up, but I could still drive. God bless you, you and Bernie Federley. We finally made it. It's 150, and I'm over.
holding both his first and 150th while he's having to do it.
This is the way you write it up. John Ford and his team, they had some work to do. They were at a disadvantage coming into this final round. It was Ron Capps that was quicker in the semifinals. John Ford had the car, the team gave it to him. He left the starting line right there with Ron Capps. Ron Capps, for some reason, slowed down. But I realized when these two drivers were pulling up into the staging lanes, a very special place for both of them. But John Force, 150 wins, I was there for 100. And I think what's most telling about that win is he thanked Austin Coyle, Bernie Federley, the people that got him there.
His family now. He gives his wife Lori a kiss on the cheek, his grandson standing with him. And now you heard what he said. He's heading to the stands. Why? To watch a young man who's gotten a shot because of John Force, the Montana Brands car. Austin Brock, we talk about symmetry in drag racing. It's a sport of two cars running down next to each other. It is a sport of men and women, young and old. It's a sport of a guy with 150 wins and a kid that hasn't ever made a final round. John Force hobbling over the wall into the starting line. The reaction times were not good on either side of the racetrack. Steve Torrance smokes the tires early. Austin Brock gathers the car up and goes to the finish line running 3.87 seconds. And John Force is going to attempt to climb a fence successfully. I don't know where he's going, but he's trying to get somewhere. And Steve Torrance, 4.984 seconds after smoking the tires. As Austin Brock, Tony, this is a storybook end. Look, nobody saw that coming, how bad they were up the starting line. Nobody's going to remember that. It's a random starting line. But let's go down to Bruno at the finish line. Starting line.
Down here on the starting line with Jimmy Cross.